Donald Trump spent this week spiraling, panicking, lashing out, going bald, passing out, and probably pooping his pants. Let's dive in, or really maybe let's just take a step back. In ritual humiliation, Donald Trump's longest running lie, his hair, was exposed yet again while on a tarmac in New Jersey. A gust of wind flapped up his bald comb over, showing off Trump's worst kept secret, a pale, surgically scarred, balding scalp. Next to the racism, sexism, stupidity, and fascism, Donald Trump's balding head and ridiculous hair might be his biggest trademark, something that he is both fiercely defensive of and, for some reason, deeply proud of. So, of course, just a few days later, after Hairgate, Donald Trump showed up in Vegas with what was clearly a wig. Maybe it was hair extensions, maybe it's a weave. It could possibly be a dead animal if Donald Trump didn't hate animals so much. But everyone saw what was going on. Everyone knows what's happening. Donald Trump is losing his hair, the minoxidil isn't working, and so he decided he would pretend that he has too much hair instead of not enough. It's embarrassing how vain and pathetic he is, and it's only getting worse. But if we're being honest, at this point, his hair is the least of his body problems, as he can no longer even pretend to stay awake in public. Eyes shut at a cabinet meeting, eyes shut at the Board of Peace Summit, eyes shut in the middle of his own Oval Office announcements. Dick Cheney's former cardiologist went on CNN and called it severe daytime somnolence, a debilitating illness, a classic sign of dementia among the many other obvious and sometimes disgusting signs of dementia that Donald Trump exhibits all the time. He is a slurring mess. He sounds like he isn't sober, even though he doesn't drink. Donald Trump is just falling apart before our very eyes, and it's gross. Also, speaking of disgusting things that Donald Trump does, the President of the United States is almost certainly pooping himself, soiling himself, going through bouts of both incontinence and incompetence. Most recently, we saw it at Lindsey Graham's funeral. A Secret Service agent was seen, as we've all seen, taking a little metaphorical bullet for the president behind him, not really enjoying the smell. It seemed like something was disgusting and it was omitted from Donald Trump's, well, we don't really need to go into all the details. For the last few decades, Donald Trump's pattern of releasing horrifying smells is well documented, going all the way back to the Apprentice days. But the baldness, passing out, or pooping is humiliating as Donald Trump's latest polling numbers. Another sign that his collapse isn't just cognitive or physical, it is political. Donald Trump's approval rating just hit 32% with Quinnipiac, the lowest they have ever recorded. Nate Silver has his net approval rating at negative 20 points, worse than any single day of his first term, even worse than the week after January 6th. This is mind-boggling. This is abysmal for our worst president in history, and he's only getting worse. That is the thing you have to know. It will not get better from here for Donald Trump, not just for his body, which is falling apart, or his polls that are collapsing. Certainly his war that is still raging will not improve. Grocery prices will continue to go up because of it, and Donald Trump will continue to see progressives win huge victories in the races that matter most, and his responses to them will only lead to more humiliation. Donald Trump called Abdul al-Sayed full of shit. Dr. Abdul al-Sayed responded by saying, well, at least he doesn't release his in the Oval Office. It is only going to get worse for Donald Trump, which is why we have to hold this administration accountable. And I have 3 great guests this week that are doing exactly that. My good friend Tim Miller is joining me to talk about everything from Donald Trump's health to the cowardice of Republicans. We've got Robert Garcia discussing Todd Blanche and what it will mean to continue and make sure that the files be released and that those who are keeping them from being released are held accountable. And then we're wrapping up with my very dear friend Joy Reid. If you were watching her live stream on Tuesday into Wednesday, you saw us having a great celebration. But we are going to cover so much on this show, like why black Republicans need to just give up. Nobody will ever accept you in a party built on white supremacy. But we have so much to cover. It is going to be a great show. And as always, it is happening right now. It is you. It's me. It's my three great guests. And as always, it's happening on Sunday. Tim Miller, thank you so much for joining me on Sunday.
It's Sunday with Jack Cocchiarella. Wow.
And we dressed
up. What an experience. It's good to be here.
It is good to be here, and it's good to be with you, especially because we got fun stuff to talk about that'll get us put on the enemies list.
As always.
Have you been surprised you're not on the enemies list? Well, you kind of got to be a little bit on the enemies list already, right?
I mean, the Bulwark has been hit on one of their, like the White House.gov's enemies list thing. I personally have not. I mean, and since Trump shouted at me and said "great job" with Jeb many years ago, I've been out of the radar. I'm happy with that. That's fine. I'm not looking to be the first man in the gulag,
Okay. Well, I think that we can get you maybe 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th.
I'll be gone I'll be gone by the time they hit number 3.
You'll be in Europe. You'll be leaving by then. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's get into the enemies list conversation then, because you were talking about Donald Trump's hair earlier this week, or his weave or his wig. I had Jon Favreau, our friend of the show, on last week, and he was he was pushing back against the idea that kind of the weakness of Trump physically and cognitively is something that's going to move anyone or really necessarily matters. It's fun to talk about the fact that he might be wearing a wig. Do you think this plays as part of like a broader narrative for why the administration is collapsing?
I'm not sure if the wig does in particular. I think that's just a little treat for all of us.
Oh, it is.
It does. I mean, the dead animal hanging over the ears, the kind of upper earlobe.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, and it's tough to look at. No, yours is natural. Look at that. Look at the flow. His doesn't. It's kind of like, just a dead animal's fur. It clumps. Mm-hmm. You're not clumping. You've got volume. It's different. It's clumping. It's gross. It looks yucky. You don't want to touch it. And it's fun to make fun of and point and laugh. And we deserve that. He points and laughs at people, and he deserves to be pointed and laughed at. That's actually a powerful tool against a bully. Does that resonate with midterm election voters? I don't know. I had a friend that was just kind of live texting me from a focus group the other day that they were watching because they're working on a congressional race. And they were surprised, and I kind of was too, by the degree to which Trump's Goldfingerification of DC has broken through with kind of people that aren't as big news consumers.
The horsies?
And I do think that the difference between that and his hair is that people are kind of like, man, we got needs in this community, whatever it is, it's different communities, different people, but we've got things that we wish you cared about. You seem to just care about all this other stuff. And if you were doing all that other stuff and also taking care of our needs, and okay, fine, whatever, we wouldn't care. But it seems like that's the only thing you care about. So I think that stuff, the ballroom, the arch, the reflecting pool, I think all of that stuff is actually resonating. And I think the extent to which his mental decline and deterioration matter, is more about this, whether he, to use his favorite word, has the stamina to actually combat that.
Yeah, and I think it kind of plays out in the stupidity of Trump that has often been a real tool for him during his political career, where he just kind of says the least thoughtful thing possible that really resonates with a group of people that does not think. There was a poll once done that showed that people who answered the question, do you find thinking enjoyable? Do you like to think? Is it something you or want to take part in doing? Sure. If they answered no, they were overwhelmingly Trump voters. We're just thinking that sounds terrible.
And I am jealous of those people. Can I just say,
my God.
How great would it be to just one of my friends told me one time, he's like, sometimes I just look out the window and space out. And I was like, yeah, I do that too. I was like, for how long? And he was like, an hour or two. And I'm like, an hour or two? It's for 8 seconds is what I can space out for. 20 seconds sometimes. I would love to not think. That'd be great. But anyway, I'm jealous. It's not surprising that overwhelmingly maps onto Trump vote. But yeah,
I've been moving to just there's so much screen time and so much information. I've been moving to, not to get too personal here, but personal. To the completely silent shower. Just so no music, no nothing, no entertainment, no Bulwark podcast, no nothing. Just because I'm I just need to sit in silence and try to focus on good things. And that's the point that we've gotten to in this administration.
People do listen to me in the shower, I will say. They tell me that, which is a little weird for me.
Is that an opening line? Hey, Tim.
I think one guy tried that, actually. Yes.
Friend of the show. We wish him well. It was John Lovett. No, it was anybody else. Yeah. But the weakness to me, it fits in, it or at least has to his real political theory of reaching out to idiots throughout his entire career. But now he's faced with some actual stuff, right? When you come into an administration that's rocking in 2017 because of Obama, or even this one post Biden, and you got nothing to do and you can just kind of blurt, it's easy. But he has started so much shit that is very difficult to fix. Like a war is difficult and it takes real thought. And it's not just about like, okay, how about we put some more TRT in our butts that like Pete Hegseth has instructed, and then get out there and then open the Strait of Hormuz with our big biceps. Like it doesn't work. And that's where I wonder if it plays. You bring up the stamina. Do you think that the stamina or the lack of focus? I don't know. I just really like talking about his health. I just think it's important in connection to everything else.
Well, for me, some of the importance about it is just kind of the end game. And I don't know, like, what does a deteriorating man who's like seeing power slip through his fingers, like how does he act? And I think it's important in that sense. But I think it's important on the margins. I think in the actual political side. For one example, he's in Nevada, whatever that was, a couple days ago, and horrible event. It was a good idea. It was like this no tax on tips event. They have some union guys there, but it's like Joe Lombardo, the Republican governor, talks first, and it's talking about how much Trump likes billionaires, and then they boo the dead Muslim cop, and I just like the event's a nightmare. And then Trump does an interview afterwards where it's Trace Gallagher, I believe, at Fox. It's just a softball interview. It's just like, what's your message here today for the economy? And Trump's like, the tariffs are great, and we love the tariffs, and the tariffs are wonderful. And then it's like, okay. And it's like, are you going to be doing more of these? And he's like, I don't know if I have to. I mean, I don't have to be in Nevada. I don't have to be schlepping all the way out here. He
doesn't want to do shit.
It didn't seem like a guy that was like, out there helping his guys. And I do think that matters on the margins. Yeah.
That is the funny part, because there are going to be more of those moments, and obviously the we love the inflation. Quite frankly, it's wonderful. Sorry, I had to do it to you. I got to do it every once in a while. But that's going to be
every once in a while. I feel like every time I'm on, you do it.
Yeah, well, you evoke something from me, Tim. Well, I think Republican, and it is just it comes out of me. Jeb was terrible. You did a terrible job with Jeb. Is that a flashback?
Get Jeb's wife out of your mouth.
But I think that there are going to be more of those clips, because he really doesn't want to go on the road.
I meant to say get Jeb's wife's name out of your mouth. You can keep that in there, but that was a little yuckier. That came out a little yuckier.
I was trying to let it slide. Okay. You were not in proximity to slap me, so it's fine. But yeah, I just think that there's going to be more of those clips, because he really doesn't want to be anywhere, does he?
No.
Like he's just too tired. And that's maybe, I think it's more my problem with the mainstream coverage. We do a lot of media criticism on the Jack Cocchiarella show, and it's just the mainstream coverage of every time he passes out in public. I don't see anything about it. Like there's a tweet from Asen, and it's like, here's Trump asleep again. But besides that, it really just does drive me crazy that he's constantly passing out. He might be wearing a wig. He could have soiled himself. He is wearing a wig. He maybe pooped his pants, and we're just like, Trump just hanging out. And I think that's the part that drives me the most wild.
Well, I'm happy that you've got a platform to share that frustration.
And I'm not just calling you up and going, Tim, I've got some thoughts.
Yeah.
What is wrong with Jake Tapper?
Yeah.
When are we getting
I'm with you. I hear you on that. Look, and there's a lot to complain about, and so we all got to have our lane. I'm the mass deportations, the gulags, the internment camps, or something that's really getting my ire up. Bill Cassidy being just a fucking shell of a human.
Yeah, we can talk
that's
about
getting
the
my
real
ire
stuff.
up the hair.
It's not the only thing that bothers me, Tim. There's plenty of things.
I know. I'm just saying, we all have only so much time in the day. Everyone's got to focus on the things that really speak to them.
Well, which of the Republicans is it? Cassidy, just because the closeness to home and kind of the foe. I'm going to stand up to these guys. Is that why he pissed you off the most with the Blanche of it all?
Yeah, I mean, John Thune, I like to kind of, I feel like I'm the sole person carrying the flag for John Thune as a disgusting twat.
Mm,
And he has the fake tan like Trump. He pretends like he is like the responsible steward of everything over there
hmm.
in the Senate. John Thune's been around for a long time. He was just just a regular middle of the road, whatever you think about it, just like a regular Republican, Reagan, free markets, free people, like etc. And he, fighting Russia, he's not done anything. He's a Senate Majority Leader. He's used his power for nothing,
Hmm.
and because I don't know, he is not like a bad guy in the narrative like Mitch McConnell. I feel like he doesn't get the ire that he deserves, and like Mike Johnson is just kind of an easier punching bag. What with like sharing the porn with his son and just like being so like unappealing. I do. I think that for whatever reason, Mike and Mitch carry that. But I like John Thune as a personal pet project of mine. But no, Bill Cassidy, look, Bill Cassidy, like Trump ended his career.
Yeah.
Trump ended his career.
And like publicly, it wasn't one of the soft ones.
Yeah.
It was like,
Bill
yeah,
Cassidy
publicly.
knows better. He voted to convict him. Why did he vote to convict him? He voted to convict him because Donald Trump attacked our democracy and he perpetrated an attack on like our system, the rule of law. And Todd Blank and that conviction meant that Donald Trump was not going to be allowed to run for president again had other Republicans joined with Bill Cassidy. It was an important vote, but it showed he recognized the scale of his attack on our system. And so then to whatever, 5 years later, after Donald Trump depantsed him over that, after Donald Trump just like humiliated him and rubbed his face in it, to then come back and be like, I want Donald Trump to be able to have the attorney general of his choice to continue that January 6th attack, because that's what Todd Wedge is doing. He's continuing the attack. They are pardoning the attackers, and they're using the power of the government to go after foes and to rig the system for Donald Trump. It is a disgusting vote. And then for him to go up there and be like, well, people are going to criticize me for this. I mean, he is a shell of a human.
Well, was it Cornyn or was it Tillis? I think it was Cornyn who was like, well, there's nothing we could have done, right?
Yeah, it was Cornyn.
There's nothing we could have done to stand in the way of this. It was like, well, no was always an option, and that would have done it. As someone who's been around more of these guys, can you get us in the psyche of someone who's like, I'm a senator and I'm and it's me and in the Senate and I got my stuff and I'm gonna go on the shows, but also I have no power. Like I'm Mr. Important Senator, but also I have no power.
Yeah, I think
what does that to someone besides being afraid of Trump?
Tom Tillis released the cover of his book this week, and I think it's very revealing as to the psyche. I'm going from memory, but it's something like how to lose friends and anger presidents or something like that. And it shows a picture of like 3 cabinet secretaries on there who he all confirmed that he's mad at. And I think that this tells you what it says about the psyche. These guys, they're wusses.
Yeah.
They don't like to, they don't like to be the one that is saying, this is wrong, we shouldn't do this. They don't like to, they're like, that takes courage, that takes backbone, that takes alienating people. And so what they do is they like pick these little spots where they randomly criticize, or they'll ask a tough question, do their job. And then when that's not enough for people, when people are still mad at them, they get mad. They're just like, what do you mean? Like, I'm trying up here. What more do you want from me? You know what I mean? And so like their psyche is that like they want to be part of the club. Like they want to, like they feel like they're on that team, and they don't want to be, the worst thing that they could be would be the Liz Cheney, somebody that is like cast aside, who's not welcome back. And so they like just they use this power of rationalization to be like, I don't know why you guys are mad at me. Like I asked one hard question to Pete Hegseth in his confirmation hearing, mission accomplished. You know what I mean? And so I think that's really what's happening in the psyche of them. They're wimps that want to still be in good company in these corridors of power.
I want to do a little Tim time on that. You wrote a book about this.
I did.
So for the people who want to know more, not just like, the next 5 minutes that we're going to spend on this, when you were anti-Trump, there was still a possibility that it was all going to work out for you. And it was going to be like, look at me, look how right I was. and he was going to lose in spectacular fashion. It was going to blow up in everyone's face. And then that didn't happen. And it's been a fucking crisis ever since. That moment on election night, the days after, I think we all had this in 2024 where there was a lot of like, are we just a conservative country? Are Republicans just going to win? Do people hate Democrats? Is it kind of over? And everyone was kind of getting their takes off on that. And everyone was kind of dooming on that. But that night, how much of like, ooh, should I try to find my way back? Should I carve a little lane? Should I be a little oppositional?
The first election, 16? Yeah. Look, I'm not a natural go along to get along person, Jack. I don't know if you know that about me. So
he's commented on my hair a lot.
And I also having been a gay Republican, like I was kind of an outlier. I already had to do all this, man. I already had to do the like, oh, you thought I was straight? Wrong. I'm gay. So I don't know. Like I had like the scars a little bit from all that, but no, it didn't even occur to me. And I thought my career was over, and I was in a deep depression for months, and like did not leave a dark room for a long time. So it wasn't like I was gearing up to fight the next minute, and I was thinking about like, are there ways to stay around? You know what I mean? Like I was like, I'm never going to work for Trump, but like, are there good Republicans I can still work for? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm some hero, but like the idea of going to come around for Trump and being for him was never like a thought that crossed my mind. He was always so far beyond the line that it was like, how can you rationalize this? And to me, that was a lot of what like the book was about. Was like I was trying to understand, because in private, all my friends agreed with me. Like in the campaign, like none of them, you know what I mean? When I was making fun of Trump, it wasn't like there was a lot of time where like Josh Holmes of the Ruthless podcast was like, I don't know, Tim, you should give him a chance. Like that wasn't like, that wasn't like happening really. Like there was some defenses of like the judges, like we got to do it because of the, I had one guy one time at a party telling me we got to do it because of the cabinet. I was like, really? You think Trump's cabinet would be better? But anyway, so I don't know. So like that was like hard for me to try to like reckon with what like the fact that like everyone else was so eager to go along.
He needs to be, to pick my words correctly, he needs to be gone eventually, right? He may have too many hamburgers. I don't know. Vance is getting in good shape, so he might Erica him. I didn't say that. Tommy would be really would be really mad at me for making conspiracies.
Jack. No.
But
that's a no for me.
That's a no. We're cutting that one.
You can keep it in if you want, but I just want to object very clearly.
Vance may teal him then behind the scenes. And I don't know. He's already doing his. Not like that. I don't know.
Hotel?
He's gonna be gone. What happens to these people?
The hotel window?
Is
that a hotel window joke?
No. It's a push out for money. It's not a push out. I'm not. I love that you find that one fine, but I'm like,
well, I'm intrigued by that one. I don't know. There's a lot of
there's a lot more money involved in that one. And
there's also a lot more questions there. I don't know.
Yeah.
The rest of it, I think, is pretty cut and dry.
Peter Thiel, historically not great guy.
What's the question?
The question is, what do these people do? How do they reframe themselves? How did we not allow them to excuse everything that happened over the past decade? How do we keep it in people's mind? If we couldn't get people to remember January 6th well enough 4 years later, like, is it gonna matter? Like, I want it to matter that these were horrible people who were, wussing out all the time. And I don't know, like, do you think it will?
There are two things there are two answers to that. One is like legal ramifications, and I think that if God willing we beat them in 2029, and the next attorney general is not somebody like Merrick Garland, and and that the state attorneys general, Democratic states, use their power, and that there is real ramifications, and that the oversight. I mean, Robert Garcia is really good. Like that the congressional oversight this time. I was, look, I'm wrong about a lot. But I was banging this drum all during 21 to 22 2003 when the Democrats had power. I was like, where is the fucking investigations? Where are the oversight? Where's the Benghazi? Like, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they just didn't. They were like, we're going to move forward. No moving forward. 2029, there's going to have to be some policy stuff happening too, but there's also going to have to be some looking back. Like, we're going to have to walk and chew gum on that. And I think hopefully there's some actual ramifications this time, like there was after Nixon. There were real ramifications now. And we went through a period of basically good government. You could disagree with the policies, but like just from like a legal standpoint, you know, from there up until Trump, you know, so maybe we buy ourselves another 40 years. That's one. The political side, though, man, I do think we're all just going to have to, like, you know, do our Ujjayi breaths and like move forward and just like win people over. Like, Trump won a lot of voters over that are fucking winnable. Like, they won a lot of voters over that are winnable, and we got to persuade them and telling them that they can't vote for JD Vance or whoever it is, Tucker, because of some stupid thing Trump did 5 years ago. Like, it's not going to work. And so I think that the political side is actually providing a message for these people that resonates, and the legal eagles, our friend over at Legal AF, etc. You know, George Conway. Shout out to Pope. George Conway can be the special envoy to the Asaf El Sayed administration.
To putting everyone in jail. Okay, well, then we're going to do a little bit on that because you've brought it up. You said Tucker and you said Asaf El Sayed, so we have to do a little bit on Tucker first.
Okay.
You and I have fought over Tucker before. We're not going to do that again today. I just want to ask you what you thought of the 10-point manifesto, of whether or not he was winning people over and whether Democrats were allowing him to take some space that he shouldn't have. But we just, you know, made El Sayed the nominee in Michigan. So Democrats have closed that gap in terms of speaking to people's concerns about a genocide. But Tucker's 10-point manifesto, thoughts, feelings.
I want to review that disagreement because I'd like to. I want to go back and see what I said and see if I still agree with myself, because I've had some evolving views on that. But Tucker's manifesto, I thought it was pretty funny that the first two statements are fairness and sovereignty. I always say that word wrong for some reason. And fairness, to me, I thought it was a sop to like his new horseshoe friends, right? Like, look, like, we're not like those old Republicans who only cared about the rich or whatever. Like, we need more fair. I was talking to JBL about this, and JBL had a darker view. He was like, he thinks fairness means that it's unfair that some people are getting advantages and that other people, like the whites, are being left behind.
That's what he's saying. There's also a punishment angle there, right? Yeah, it's unfair that these people haven't been adequately punished.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that tells you what you need to know. And I think that Tucker is extremely compelling as a speaker. I think underestimating him would be a mistake. Yeah. I also think that some on the left like have a caricature of what Republican voters are to a degree, that they think that these voters really want Tucker. And I think that there's like a real big appetite for Tucker, maybe a quarter of the party. But Trump was lizarded. Trump's like fucking ban the Muslims and like, you know, we're gonna win wars and masculinity and jail Hillary. Tucker's a little eggheady. And I think that there is people that are really buying what he's selling, no doubt. But Trump has those people. And then Trump has another category of people that are like, I'm the old Miss Frat Bro that just likes America. And like Tucker struggles a little bit at that. So I don't know that Tucker's quite
He's been zinning, though. He's got the zins.
He has been zinning. He's been trying that. So I don't know. I mean, I think Tucker is... I think Tucker's 1A plan is JD, and that he's the stalking horse. And I think if JD lets him down, Tucker's 1B plan is Tucker.
Well, then how does JD let him down? Just like the polling doesn't look good. There's people kind of taking shots out of him. Yeah,
he goes native with the deep state, you know, in DC. Or maybe JD. It's not JD lets him down so much as like JD just gets stuck holding the bag for this war that spirals out of control, and you need somebody that's like a more vocally anti-war person, and you can't be that person if you're the vice president. You know, they're unforeseen things, but I still think that Tucker really is like in the JD is the vessel, not me.
It seems that's how he's kind of been, you know, he's been framing himself. Even the little Marjorie Massey, Joe Kent meeting had a vibe of like, we still want MAGA, but MAGA new, right? And if JD can do that, we're happy about it. Yeah. I want to close on a little Dem 2028 though.
Let's do it.
Ossoff, you think he's your guy?
No. He's not my guy. He's just the flavor of the month. Whatever. Next month, I would have said whoever. I don't have anything against John Ossoff. John Ossoff's speeches are really good. I think that he is going to have another huge round of buzz in November because he's going to absolutely schlong Mike Collins. An overwhelming win. I think that he's a really good politician, and I'm excited for. Maybe it's just me. I think probably you too, Jack. I think we're probably exceptions. I'm excited for 2028 because I don't really know. I think a lot of people are very sure. Like the Democrats are definitely going to go with the populist left this time, or it's definitely going to be Gavin because of this, or it's definitely going to be whoever wins, Kamala, whatever. I think that there's a lot of people who have their own interests. I don't, and I think that everybody's way worse at predicting things than they think, and I think that I look at Ossoff and it's like he's super talented. He's not if I drew up a candidate for 2028, I would think I want somebody that's super online and authentic and whatever, and he's not that, right? He's almost a 2008 style candidate.
He's very on the message.
Yeah, he's very on message. He's a compelling speaker. But maybe people want that. Maybe people want to go back to that. Maybe people are sick of fucking having to hear. You know what I mean? I think that I have a theory about which side of that is right, but I don't know for sure. I think that'll play out. But I think he's running an awesome Senate race, and I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure to get him in. I think also the idea of having. Can I give a really bad thought? We're at the end here of a 30 minutes. Not bad. Bad is the wrong word. Bad is the wrong word. I have a thought that people might not want to share in polite company, but me and you aren't polite company. I think that there's a lot of Democrats who would be very excited to have a Jewish nominee to kind of offset the conversation about whether there's anti-Semitism, et cetera. And having been a Republican, I've seen this, people, I don't, people don't like it when you're oh, you're a bigot. And so this is why Republicans turned to Herschel Walker or whatever. So anyway, I'm not saying the Democratic voters are like that. This is a 1-to-1, but there's a little bit of something. It's an added little something. The Democrats are see, don't call me an anti-Semite. I'm just fucking mad about the way Israel is conducting this war and the way Israel acted in the West Bank and et cetera, et cetera. I don't, there's legitimate. I think that's legit, by the way. But I think that it adds a little something special for them for that reason. But no, I don't know, man. I think that I think there's going to be 28 candidates.
Yeah, it's going to be a big field. And your advice to the pre-campaign campaigners, Andy Bashir is kind of doing his thing right now. You've obviously seen a lot of people back Al-Sayed. There's a lot of people already going to Michigan. Yeah. What's your advice for the pre-campaign campaigners right now? Two
pieces of advice. Okay. What's on your hat? If you don't know what's on your hat, don't run.
Yeah, I remember that you and the Raging Cajun right before Kamala. What's on the whiteboard? What's the message? Yeah. What's the hat?
What's on that? If it's fine. If it's a whiteboard, not a hat, I'll allow it. But what is it? Why you running? What's your North Star? If you're figuring that out 2 weeks before South Carolina primary, you shouldn't have run in the first place. That's number one. Yeah. Number two is my big piece of advice is because for some reason nobody seems to understand this or have it stick in. Barack Obama ran to the left of the establishment on the war and on some other stuff, and ran to kind of the right on things like education reform and just we're all red states, we're all blue states. Just think about his brand. He was like, I'm giving the moderates a little something, and I'm giving the lefties a little something back in 2008. It was authentic to him. It has to be authentic. I'm not saying that this should be strategic, but that's what he did. Trump did this. 26. These are our two most successive politicians.
Yes, this is true.
Trump ran to the right on immigration and crime. We are going to have alligators on the border. We're going to fucking give drug dealers the death penalty. Everybody knows all his right wing shit. He also said, Paul Ryan's a little crazy on this Social Security reform. We shouldn't cut Social Security. And also, I don't care about gays that much. I mean, whatever. But it's not, and these aren't, he doesn't get a pat on the back for any of this, but he did that. And I don't see it. That's what I would like. I would like a Democrat to think if they're running, if they're just trying to run, what is the thing my criticism of the party establishment from the left, and how can I really run on that passionately, whether that's corporatism, Israel, healthcare, whatever. What is something to the middle? that I think
in a legitimate way too.
In a legitimate
Not
way,
like
yeah.
not like maybe we can find this one, and then if I say this phrase, then it'll work.
Yeah, or I'm gonna pick trans sports because that's the hot button thing from last time. I'm not saying. I mean, like, look inside your soul, and if you don't have a single criticism of the Democratic establishment from the left and a single criticism of them from the middle, don't run for president. Miller.
He's got plenty.
Yeah, but don't run for president then, actually, because then you should run for DNC party chair. That is the job for you, right? So anyway, those are my advice. Take them or leave.
Great advice. It's great advice. I appreciate you giving us so much time, Tim. It's good to see you. I'm glad you got some time off for vacation. We got a lot of race left ahead of us, but yeah, let's keep talking about his wig, man.
Happy Sunday. Nice fucking weave, bro. See you later.
Right, see you, Tim.
Always great to hang out with the Bulwark's Tim Miller. Great success over there at the Bulwark. Independent media as strong as ever, doing incredible work, talking about the files, talking about the stories that many people do not want to cover. That is also what Robert Garcia is uncovering over on the Oversight Committee, although James Comer is doing everything he can to stop him. But he's not going to stop this interview. So let's hear from Congressman Robert Garcia. Congressman Robert Garcia, thank you so much for joining me on Sunday.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy you are here with unfortunate news for us to be talking about. The Republican capitulation around Todd Blanche is maybe the most disgusting thing we have seen in this Trump administration. When you saw Tillis and Cornyn, who promised that they would, give the due diligence to speaking to survivors, and of course we could talk about the slush fund as well, decide that they would be backing someone who put Ghislaine Maxwell in a 5-star resort, essentially. What was your first reaction? Was it disgust? Was it surprise? Was it, I expected to see this coming?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it wasn't a huge surprise. I think that Republicans at the end of the day are always going to do what Donald Trump wants them to do.
Yeah.
And, it's both sad and infuriating, right? I mean, look, I think the state of the country right now is that we have an attorney general who was Donald Trump's former personal lawyer. And people have to continue to remember that. Todd Blanche has been with Donald Trump before Donald Trump was president. It was his personal lawyer, knows more about the president than almost anybody, is more loyal to the president than almost anybody, and now he's the AG. Do you think that Todd Blanche is going to be loyal to the Constitution and the DOJ or to his longtime boss? I mean, give me a break. And so beyond that, the just botching of the way the Epstein files have been released, not releasing half, doxing survivors, not meeting with them till the very last minute, the weaponization fund. I mean, the list goes on. And so he shouldn't have gotten a single vote. And I think it's really shameful that at the end of the day, of course, Tillis and Cornyn have caved. But I mean, I think we probably expected them to.
Yeah.
And so now we have to be very clear-eyed that we have Donald Trump's lawyer as the head of the DOJ. It's his Department of Justice. He's going to weaponize it. And we've got to do everything that we can to ensure he gets in front of the Oversight Committee, which he already committed to, and continues to get asked the tough questions.
And we've seen that focus from you and your committee, especially as the media seems to want to talk about anything other than the files, which is just wild to me. It's only really like independent media at this point. I want to give the biggest shout out possible to Katie Fang, who has done just such incredible work putting pressure on this DOJ. But we see the continued narrative about, of course, this is Donald Trump's lawyer. He was brought in after the failure that was Pam Bondi to do enough weaponization and to do enough, kind of covering up of the files. There was that report that Pam Bondi for a long period of time was not allowed on Fox. How much of the Blanche reaction do you think is Trump projecting out that all of this is going to get worse in what's coming out next?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that Donald Trump saw in Pam Bondi someone that wasn't sufficiently, excelling at containing all of his corruption, right?
Which is crazy to say because she really did her best.
She did her best. I mean, and then Pam Bondi during her deposition names, as you know, Todd Blanche over 30 times as the person that was a central figure in the Epstein investigation. I think that what's really important on Epstein, on the broader corruption is, look, you have a case here with Epstein where half of the evidence has not been released, half of the evidence. And certainly some of the most damning information is stored still away in the Department of Justice, and we have no access to it. What's already out on its own is a huge White House cover-up that's, of course, implicated a bunch of folks. The idea that Todd Blanche has said that there's no one to criminally convict is crazy. It's laughable. And so, but, no matter whether the media, particularly legacy media, covers this or not, the American public is tuned in. Like, they know about the Epstein investigation. They don't believe the president. They believe people should be held accountable. They're hearing from survivors. And once we win the majority in November on the House side, this is going to be, for us, one of our top investigations. We're going to talk about it all the time. We're going to have hearings. I mean, the other side, believe it or not, haven't held one hearing on the Epstein
files. It is wild how just like silent it's been. I think your colleague Maxwell Frost talked months ago about how effectively Comer has just shut down the committee. When was the last time you held an actual hearing or anything that was on the record?
I mean, an actual full committee hearing that has been months on a topic. I mean,
it's insane.
And they started doing that when we got a lot of success, right? So we started forcing all those subpoena votes, and we started actually getting all the records, and we're getting Republicans to join us. Basically, Comer was like, okay, that's enough. These Democrats are, they're outmaneuvering us at every meeting. And so he's like, what we're going to do instead is not have hearings so that you can't outmaneuver us. And that's what's happened over the last few months.
I want to talk in a second about what you'll be doing when, of course, Democrats retake the House, but I want to stay on what's happening right now for a little bit, specifically on those Republican colleagues of yours. Of course, Thomas Massie, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a special election with Mitch McConnell still, pretending to be alive a little bit. And it doesn't seem like Nancy Mace is going to be trying to seek higher office in a Senate race in South Carolina. There are some Republicans who have been outspoken about the files. Obviously, Lauren Boebert is kind of getting into tiffs with Donald Trump all the time. Do you think as the end of this session wraps up, you might see Republican colleagues of yours more willing to put pressure on Comer or on Trump? Is there any expectations that things will change, or is it just going to be up to Democrats going forward?
Well, look, I think, unfortunately, as you know, some of the biggest critics of the president are leaving Congress, as you said.
Yeah.
But there's other folks that are really committed generally, and I've seen that commitment to transparency, at least meeting us halfway. Folks like Anna Paulina Luna, you just said Lauren Boebert have been too. I'm hopeful more join the Congress. And quite frankly, as the president becomes more historically unpopular, we're hoping that more and more of these Republicans will come over, because the Epstein Files investigation is not partisan. This should be a nonpartisan exercise focused on justice for the survivors. And instead, Mike Johnson, Donald Trump, certainly John Thune, all these guys are playing cover-up. They all understand that the files haven't been released, and we're having to go to the courts. Folks like Katie Fang have been very successful in pushing the courts on the private side, and we've got to continue to do all that work to get finally all of these files in front of the public.
And while they're stalling in the Congress, you've been putting pressure on kind of corporations and outside entities. Can you talk more about the kind of pressure campaign that's happening with Goldman Sachs and one of their top lawyers with connections to Epstein right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, Kathleen Rumler, who was basically the Goldman Sachs top chief counsel, was also worked in the Obama administration. And we have said, we don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you've done harm and you knew about harm, we're gonna come and ask you tough questions and hold you accountable. And the reality is that this is someone, she was close to Epstein. She became one of his top advisors towards the end of Epstein's life. She was one of the first people he talked to. When you think, and one of the last folks he communicated with before he died, and she was giving him advice. And there's emails in the files of her, getting all of these gifts from Epstein. She knew he'd been convicted of sexual abuse, and yet she was this high-powered administration official. And now, then, of course, goes to Goldman, making millions and millions of dollars. And so what we're saying is, now that Rumler's in front of our committee, it's pretty clear that she's, I think, lying about survivors and about a relationship. We're demanding Goldman cut all ties with her. Why is she still on the payroll of Goldman Sachs? Why is she still being employed? There's actually been some accountability for other folks, whether it's been the Prince in UK, there's been folks in academia, there's been Larry Summers. People have lost jobs and positions because of their connections to Epstein. And Ms. Rumler should not be employed by Goldman Sachs. So we're demanding that gets severed immediately.
What are the other campaigns that you expect to be taking on towards the end of this Congress? At least that public pressure as you see Republicans continue to stall. Where else, if you could, maybe make the media, I know we can't make, and we're trying over here in independent media, but maybe more of the mainstream press focus on a story that you believe has been undercovered with regards to the Epstein case at large. What would you like to see more focus on at this time?
That's a great question. Look, I want to just share, like, overall, what we're looking at, and I'm going to mention the one thing that we need more attention on. Obviously, the Epstein investigation, Trump family corruption, just the complete, not just corruption, but what's happening with ICE and DHS. We believe there's not just real kind of pay to play that we're investigating and looking at there with contracts, but also just what's happening, what ICE is doing on the streets, the unconstitutional actions being taken every single day, denying people due process. I mean, all of those investigations around ICE, around Epstein, around Trump family corruption are central to oversight and will be in the majority. The other investigation we've been very focused on, is not getting enough attention, is what's happening actually over at HHS and RFK Jr. And I think, look, it's covered here and there by the media, but people need to understand that people around the world are dying. Millions of people are being impacted because of our policies now in the U.S., and people are getting sicker in the United States. We're having measles outbreaks. We're having new viruses that are breaking out across this country. He's decimated our vaccination board. He's fired our top scientists and doctors, the top people around the country and the world on infectious diseases. The man is a conspiracy theorist. RFK Jr. is a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist who is in charge of public health in the United States and driving public health around the world. It is horrific what he is doing here and abroad. The destruction of we had basically wiped out the HIV epidemic across the world. And now he's right when we're at the point of essentially wiping this out as an actual issue, it is beginning to come back in certain parts of the world because of the United States inaction. So I think that what's happening right now at HHS and the CDC and the impact of what's going to happen in a future pandemic, I'm really worried about the country. I really am.
You talk about that global impact, and it's so true from the outset of the administration that they just truly did not care about how many people would die because of their actions abroad. That was obviously clear. But you've also seen from the Trump administration that there is truly no one that Donald Trump or RFK Jr. hates more than the people who love them, right? The billions of dollars that Donald Trump made in his crypto scam didn't come from me and you. Like, we weren't thinking that we were going to make a couple of bucks off the Trump coin. I didn't think anyone thought that was a great long-term investment. These are people who supported Donald Trump. And it's the same with RFK Jr. Of course, they're impacting herd immunity, but it is the people who believe his bullshit, fake pseudoscience who are being most affected. You know, when you're telling the story about the corruption that's happening, and obviously there have been people who have come to RFK Jr. because he presents himself as an authority, of someone who can be trusted. How much of that storytelling that you want to do and kind of exposing this all is going to be about just how much he hates and does not care for the people who love him most?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I mean, and the other piece is, like, if you think about, like, the whole, like, whatever the hell Maha movement, you know, and the folks that really felt that RFK Jr. was somehow going to come in and take on, like, big ag and the pesticides and some of the kind of corporate kind of ag players, they've been bamboozled. I mean, at the end of the day, all of the base, the folks that actually that were thinking that Donald Trump and RFK Jr., some of the base, that they were going to take on the big companies as relates to all of these, the food pollution and going after the pesticides. The opposite's happened. I mean, RFK Jr. they're basically encouraging, there's tax cuts for all of these large corporations. They're decimating ag. They're not providing any sort of protections for people. And so people are going to become sicker. These companies are now more powerful, and they've betrayed the base, his own base. And RFK Jr. and all of the people that supported him, they've all been betrayed by Donald Trump and by their own policies. And now instead, it's been heartening to see some of these folks finally waking up and saying, oh yeah, Donald Trump is a fucking bad president. RFK Jr. is a liar. Is a liar. I mean, he's $2 billion richer. His kids are profiting from contracts around the world and at the Pentagon. Jared Kushner is trying to buy private islands. He's getting billions from the Saudis, and you're stuck with higher rent, higher food costs, higher gas costs,
and the poop lettuce.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And your healthcare is not getting better. So wake up, people. What's happening? Wake up.
And On the point of the healthcare, and you're incredibly busy, so I got to let you run. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. Of course, right now with Mitch McConnell and in his absence, there are questions around his staff and whether or not they've been transparent. Is that something that you believe oversight may take up in the next Congress or towards the end of this one, as people keep kind of asking these questions about where is Mitch McConnell and what his staff is hiding?
Well, I do think that we need some rules changes and some general changes as to how people can stay in Congress without showing up for months. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's one thing to be sick, but as it relates to Mitch McConnell, I think Governor Beshear is right here. I mean, we need actual proof that he's actually serving the people. And we had another member of Congress that was out for months and months. No one had any idea what was going on. And I'm glad he was getting help, obviously, for depression and what he was suffering from. But the public deserve transparency. If you are a member of Congress or in the U.S. Senate, there's a higher bar than calling in sick to work or taking time off. You're accountable to the people. So there has to be changes. We have to investigate the better ways of doing it.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I always appreciate the time. Thank you so much, Congressman, for joining me on Sunday.
Thank you.
Robert Garcia is truly one of the special new leaders we have in the Democratic Party, and always great when we have a little time to chat with him. And I'm glad that he's going after the Mitch McConnell staff. We need some accountability there, and that accountability will also come in the independent media, where Joy Reid is thriving, doing such incredible work. And I want to hear from her in our great conversation right here. Joy Reid, thank you so much for joining me on Sunday.
Jack, it's always a pleasure.
And it's good to be back, because we were talking Tuesday night into Wednesday morning with a long election night in Michigan. A big result. People already getting behind Abdul from every part of the party. Huge respect to Haley Stevens, Mallory McMorrow jumping in right on the campaign trail. What have you made of the coalescing we have instantly seen in Michigan in such an important race?
Well, losing is a great educator. And I think the establishment is getting quickly educated as to where they need to be if they want the base. This happened on the Republican side, too, with the Tea Party, and it happened with MAGA, right? And as sort of mainline Republicans started losing primaries to MAGA or to Tea Party Republicans, they got educated real quick, and then they all started sounding like Tea Party and MAGA. So I think you're going to start to see the same thing happen among Democrats. They're already doing like the Mamdani mimic, where they keep saying affordability and they try to mimic him. Watch the same thing happen with Abdul.
Did you notice what Zoran had to say, what Mayor Mamdani had to say about that recently, when he said, you hear a lot of people saying affordability now, but they're not exactly acting on it, and we need to be more reflective of our New Deal days if we actually want to start winning voters. Do you think is subtly sending a message there, or not so subtly sending a message there? Of course, he's been having lots of conversations with the 2028 contenders. What role do you think he's playing in that sense right now?
Right. I think right now, his repeated victories and his popularity is like the North Star for the party. They want the popularity, but if we're being honest, the establishment of the party does not want to mimic his policies. They don't want to do it. They just want to say the word affordability a lot, like it's a magic word, right? Like the late Lindsey Graham's bubble wand. They just want to wave affordability bubble wand at everyone, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, you're just like Zoran Mamdani." That's not.
That's a good Lindsey Graham impression, little. Oh my God, it's Lindsey behind the scenes. May he rest in peace.
Conservative Supreme Court, boom, bubble wand. You know what I mean? Like they want to do they want to do war in Iran forever, blam. Every Middle Eastern country being bombed, smithereens, blow. So that's my best program. But I mean, I think the problem for Democrats is I feel like we're in the age of responsive politics, meaning that what people want is not slogans and good speeches. They want responsiveness to their issues. I just saw, I don't know if you've seen this IG post. This young brother in New York is walking down the street. He sees two potholes in the ground and he says, "Yo, Mamdani, what is going on? Mamdani, get on this." He goes to work. He comes back, does another IG post. He's like, "I cannot believe that these potholes have been filled."
That's crazy.
From the time I went to work, from the time I came out. He just literally posted it, and the responsive politics kicked in. What people want is what Mamdani is doing, not just to say the right words, but to actually do things that materially change their lives. I think people are over the performativeness of Democratic politicians who give great fiery speeches on the floor of the House and Senate, and they don't do nothing.
Well, we talked about this on Tuesday with regards to kind of like this this new culture shaping that needs to happen within the Democratic Party. I think it's been repeated a million times, and it's because it's true that our politics are downstream from our culture. But in the same sense that, when you see a pothole and it's not filled, you're going to say, what is the government doing? You are much, much less likely to see a pothole filled and go, oh, wow, things are really working. You kind of forget about that, right? It's what's happening right now with of course, vaccines. They've worked so well for so long without problems that it becomes, easy for the whack jobs to distrust them, because ultimately, like, herd immunity will protect them. You should be getting vaccinated, but we've done such a good job that you can be an idiot, and largely the systems that we've put in place will protect you. And Zoran has done the great job of making the pothole politics is something that we're all very aware of, right? The clearing the snow, something that we're all very aware of. Do you think it is making a big deal out of those? I don't want to call them insignificant events, but the things that government should do, or is there another way that we get people to believe and to understand that government is doing good in your day-to-day life? Because I think that's what Republicans have had the most success in. It's like, it's been this since Reagan thing that government is a scary entity, and you should want less of it. How do we get the more? Is it the Mamdani thing, or is it a mix of something else?
Yeah, I mean, the right calls it broken windows politics, right? So broken windows means every time you see a broken window, you go, see that? That's because there's no police. And then people go, oh, I want more police. And then the more you see broken windows, you go, oh, we need more and more police. This is a way that Republicans can sneak in, maximum policing of particularly communities of color. They just use this broken window of policing as like a metaphor for everything that's wrong, all the violence, all the bad things. On the Democratic side, I think it is pothole politics. It's saying the government, if the potholes are all filled, you never think about the government. And when you don't think about the government, someone can demonize the government and say, see, the government doesn't do anything for you because you forgot that they filled those potholes. But what you have to do is point out when you fill the potholes. Like that young kid, he doesn't work for Mamdani to my knowledge, but he definitely worked for Mamdani. Like that post, which has gone viral, is more helpful than any press release that Mamdani could put out. Because when you respond to people's problems and they notice it and they say something about it, it psychologically starts to reinforce, number one, what government even does. A lot of people don't even know what Congress people, mayors, city council, they don't even know what they do. They just know they're getting paid out of our money. And it's like, well, what are they doing for this money? So I think what Mamdani does well, they have a whole couple of Instagram accounts that just say what he's doing. And they just keep on letting you know, hey, this is how I'm meeting your needs. And I think if you don't keep reminding people of how you're meeting their needs, then they forget what the purpose of government is and why they should vote. On the Republican side, they do this. They just do it in a really diabolical way. They go out and film when they kidnap people with ICE. When ICE is going in and doing jump outs on people and dragging them into vans, know that they're filming that. They're filming it. They filmed it when they rappelled out of planes to land on the top of Chicago apartment buildings. They filmed it. And they put it out like an ICE video. I mean, like an ISIS video. Remember when ISIS used to put these things on Twitter to try to recruit people into their terrorist network? They do the same thing because they're constantly reinforcing to their voters, we're hurting brown people. We're hurting brown people for you. And that's the way they get people to stay in the cult.
It's interesting that you bring up we're hurting people is the message that they use. There was this, there's this clip that kind of popped off a little bit recently as a voter. I think kind of still dealing with the ramifications of one of the natural disasters that Donald Trump hasn't responded to, because as we know, they've had to admit in court that if you're a blue state or you're a blue city, you're not going to get that FEMA money. Right now, you're seeing the Attorney General in North Carolina sue FEMA. This is something that keeps happening because they're trying to keep people from having access to the emergency funds that they need. But there was this Trump voter who said something along the lines of, he's hurting the wrong people. Right. And that really sticks with you because it's like, wait, which shouldn't it just be that he's hurting people? It's like, no, he's hurting the wrong people. And, that voter to me is unreachable. I think there is like this desire and this kind of like West Wingification of our politics. And we're like, if we just do enough and if we get the right ad and the right inspiring speech, there are some people who are unreachable. And I think we just shouldn't try to reach. I find that whenever we've talked, we've always just kind of come back to these like big esoteric ideas of like how we fix the perception of government in our politics. How do you think Democrats get people inspired about helping their community and building community and bringing a sense of community together. Like Zoran has called New York multiple times recently, like the biggest small town in America. And you have that feeling. How do you think we bring that back in the non like scary nationalism way?
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, like the thing about it is, you know, and not to be pejorative and mean, but conservatism is cruelty. Like
Yes, it's the point.
It's literally the whole idea of it is you're an individual, I'm an individual. You look out for you, I look out for me. We look out for our own and F them other people. And that is what conservatism is, because it's what capitalism is. Capitalism is dog eat dog. There is no sharing. There is no we rise together. No, it's I rise and F you. And that is what conservatism and capitalism just actually are. And because America kind of prides itself on this idea of rugged individualism, everything about our culture is against the group. It's against working together as a group. Liberalism is about we. It's about sharing. Socialism, the scary word that Republicans have now decided is exactly communism, is about kind of the we. And everything that we've done that's the we is what Democrats have done. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare, which is extended Medicaid. You know, all of the things that Democrats want to do is about community. And you can't reach about a third of the population because they're conservatives. And it means they're F those people. And so when you see, I don't know if you've seen this viral clip of this older white gentleman who says he'll never vote he'll never support Trump again, as if he could vote for him again. Trump can't run again because his very young Latina wife got nabbed by ICE and is going to get deported. So now he says, this is horrible. He was like, I was for the policies. They're not supposed to deport my wife. They're supposed to deport those other people. That guy's not reachable because next time there's an R and a D in front of him in a voting booth, I promise you he'll vote for the R because he wants a whole lot of people deported, just not his wife. So I think that Democrats have to stop begging and trying to plead with conservatives to not be conservatives. They're conservative for a reason. They can't stand other people, particularly Black people, brown people, gay people, trans people, women, you know, who are not obedient.
Anyone's not a straight white man. Yeah. with some property too. That's kind of the lane.
They kind of hate everybody. So it's like getting them,
including themselves.
Yeah, they do. I mean, Peter Thiel.
Lindsay, you could have lived your life.
Could have been
bringing it back to Lindsay. You could have been happy. You could have gone to Tel Aviv. You could have had a little porch with some iced tea and found yourself a nice one or several young men who were, you know, I don't know. I don't want to get in the weeds on this, but it seemed what Lindsay wanted to do.
You could have had a companion. You didn't have to be alone.
You could have had a companion.
You could have gone to Disney with someone with a bubble wand and shared the bubble wand.
You wouldn't have just been alone. You're right in the sense that it's like, yeah, it's a lot of hate in the heart, which is funny because this has been I don't want to call it a criticism because I actually do think it's something that he's done well. So I don't know why people are making this criticism. But with Abdul, there's been a little bit of, okay, we're getting into the general, maybe pull back on some of the go, attack. I think we're in that moment, though. Don't you agree?
Yes, I think he has to do both, right? So his ad that Dr. Abdul has put out that's called Endless War. Is a tough attack on Mike Rogers, on his opponent, because you know he was an intelligence guy, he's a pro-war guy, but the ad is also funny, and so I think you can attack the other side, they deserve it, but I think you have to have a sense of humor. People are exhausted, they're tired of being scared. It's one of the reasons the Portland anti-ICE protests were like the best, because there's nothing like being shamed by a giant frog, right? Like a giant frog dancing around at you and being like, I'm coming, I'm a frog, you know. It's kind of like, I dig it like that. You have to have some joy. Yeah. And our side is the joyful side. The reason that they look so angry even when they win is because the whole basis of conservatism is disliking other people intensely and making sure they don't get anything. Whereas the whole basis of liberalism is community. So even if some liberals are shitty, like liberals can be terrible people too, there's all kinds of issues on the left as well. But at the base of it is a joy. And then also the liberals include the Black folk. And, you know, Black folk, we got to be joyful. Listen, we were in slavery, baby. We have to be happy. We have to find a way to be joyful come what may. So I just feel like this side has a natural joy. So you can attack and you have to hit back, but you got to keep that basic level of joy.
Yeah, you really do. And that's kind of what the back end of Abdul's camp, like the last couple of months. I say that he's going on the offensive. He is. He's calling Mike Rogers out. He's going after the data centers. You know, he's being aggressive. There was a reporter from Sky News who asked, he said, Trump said that you're like you're a piece of shit or you're full of shit. And Abdul goes like, well, at least I don't release mine in the Oval Office. And it's like, okay, a little bit of comedy there. But also, a lot of the back end of his primary campaign was just like popping on that America hat and just dancing around and having fun with it. And yeah, he's really embraced both sides. And I think that kind of speaks to, what a lot of people were looking for in that joy of succeeding and winning. Because joy in winning, or winning is joyful, and you can always have fun winning. Someone who did not in Michigan, and the name is escaping me right now. I'm sure you saw this story. It was the black conservative candidate, the Republican candidate who Donald Trump endorsed. He got up on stage with Trump at his rally, and he said, Trump won Michigan 3 times. He's big in these conservative circles because he was a Muslim man, and he says that he's now become a Christian, and he's a black guy with a little bit of a foreign sounding name. We know how MAGA feels about that. And he lost this primary to someone who literally dropped out of the race, who suspended his campaign. Did you follow this story?
No.
Oh, you didn't? You didn't see this? Oh, Lord. So it was the guy who was up on stage with Trump, and he, he was endorsed by Trump. He had the backing. Trump did the Truth Social post, and he lost. And then he recorded this video the next day, and he's like, I've let everyone down. And the commentary was just like, when are people who are not white evangelical Christians going to wake up to the fact that MAGA will never love you? Like, you are not welcome in a party that is literally built on white supremacy. I can't believe you didn't see that story. It was pretty funny.
I'm obsessed now. I'm looking it up. I had to do a very quick look here. Yes, Trump-backed hopeful's name cost him the Michigan primary, according to some Republicans. And his name is Amir Hassan, a U.S. Navy veteran from Flint. And he lost the election likely because his name is Amir Hassan.
Well, did you see the moment that the I think it was a fallen police officer, or it was at Trump's Nevada rally, where there was there's a service member, a police officer, and he again had a bit of a foreign sounding name, and the whole crowd booed him.
Yes.
And they had to be like, no, we like this guy, and then they're like, oh, okay, it's insane.
Byron Donalds has even gotten it. He's in Florida running to be Donald Trump's black friend as governor of Florida. And he's gotten booed in front of his own crowds because there was one point at which he was being criticized from someone in the crowd. And then he kind of asserted, you're not giving me respect because I'm a black man. And, you're in front of MAGA, baby. They don't care. They don't even like black people. So then you just reminded them you're black, and then they booed him. Like these guys who think they can fit in, they can get in where they fit in because they're right wingers, they're conservative. My favorite one is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh my God.
Your name is Vivek Ramaswamy, baby. You are in Ohio getting booed to death by right-wing crowds that are supposed to be your base. They hate you. And I don't know, at some point, these brown and black MAGA will realize they're really not in the club. It's us and them. You're them.
And they call you them, and they call you them in like worse ways than them. Like they have lots of language and lots of words for it. Is it a shame thing? Like, is it the humiliation kink? Is it just like the desperation to one day be embraced? Like, what do you think it is with these people?
You know what? So, we've been covering the Nolan Wells case a lot. And so I've been forced to watch.
And thank you for that, because it's been completely given up and moved on from in the mainstream press. So thank you. I know you and Don have done a great job keeping that story alive.
Thank you very much. I covered so much Black Lives Matter that, I can't walk away from that mom and dad, and their pain. But so it's forced me to watch a lot of Brandon Tatum, which I would have never done otherwise, right? So he calls himself Officer Tatum. He's a former police officer. He played football, didn't succeed at that, so became a cop. And now he sort of made it his business to defend the white young men who were hanging out with, at least for a while, with Nolan. And I've listened to some of his previous content, and he says crazy things like black people were better off during slavery and Jim Crow, which Byron Donalds also says. Yeah. And I've known a lot of black conservatives in my time. I was in Florida, so I was around. I used to do a radio show with a black moderate and a black conservative, and I was the liberal. And what I feel like around among black conservatives, number one, there's a sense of I can stand taller in a room where there are no other black people, right? So they get a lot of opportunity. If you're a black conservative, you're going to be pushed forward. John James, who's going to be the gubernatorial candidate in Michigan, is that, right? You're pushed forward, but in order to get that boost from the right, you have to humiliate your own people. You have to express disdain for your own people. There has to be a certain amount of self-hate that you're willing to promote, and a lot of humiliation that you're willing to promote. And especially in Trumpism, MAGA Trumpism is about humiliation. And that's not just for Black folks. They all have to bend the knee, allow themselves to be humiliated, allow themselves to be mocked. The press, in order to cover them, has to allow themselves to be mocked. But for African Americans, for Black candidates and Black politicians, the way to, and Black content creators, you have to do things like excuse slavery. Like, to me, the amount of humiliation that you have to suffer isn't worth the boost that you get from the right. But a lot of people are thirsty for that boost, and they'll take it.
Well, it's funny that you say it's not worth it, because I've been thinking about talking to you about this all week, and we didn't get the chance on Tuesday because it completely slipped my mind. But someone who is always attacking you because he has nothing going on in his life, except to, I guess, like harass his producers, Jesse Waters. He had this moment on the 5. I don't know if you saw this, but there has been this ongoing Sophie Cunningham story, who, if y'all are not familiar, she's not like a really great basketball player, but she's made a lot of noise in the WNBA just by essentially deciding she's going to embrace the right-wing grift. She's going to attack trans people. She was doing events with Riley Gaines. It's just all terrible. You can kind of tell her teammates are tired of this shit. And she kind of is at this point as well, because she's in too deep and she's like, oh shit, this is my life now. But Jesse Waters, who will both prop up specifically white women, and MAGA does this, as the most precious thing that has to be protected and we love them, but also the greatest annoyance out there, and why are you in my life and you shouldn't be able to vote, right? So they play both sides of it. But Fox has been covering this story for a long, long time. And it's gone about 3-4 weeks now. And Jesse Waters finally snapped on air and goes, are we really going to keep talking about the WNBA? Right? He's the, we got to protect women. We're standing up for women. And he's like, dude, are we still talking about this? What do you make of this relationship that MAGA has with women in this crusade of Donald Trump continuing to do his anti-trans thing, which, like, his heart is so clearly not in it. And it's the same with Fox. What do you make of this as like the kind of last gasp strategy of the right going into the midterms?
Yeah, they don't care about this. I mean, if we think that they don't care where trans people, they've made their base care about it, but the leadership of the party, they genuinely, I doubt, care at all. I mean, the idea that they are, that they are anti-LGBTQ, but their boss is Peter Thiel makes no sense, right? I mean,
come on now.
Let's just get real, and so I don't think they really care about LGBT. I think they use them because the whole goal of the conservative Republican Party, and used to be the whole goal of the conservative Democratic Party when it was the conservative party, is to keep that 60% now, and used to be 80% of the population that are white, on their side. And they need to do that without having to give them anything. The goal is to keep white voters voting conservative, keep them voting for the conservative party, which in this case now is the Republicans, despite destroying their lives, making them lose their farms, making them go bankrupt, ruining their career prospects, taking away their daughters' rights, taking away their own civil rights, like making everything about life harder. And they don't want to change that. Like, they want to keep doing terrible things to them, but they need them to stay on side. So every generation, there's a new thing that they've got to keep white voters pissed off about, especially non-college white voters. Because the problem with college-educated white voters is they leave home and then they're around other people. And then they meet Black people and they go, oh, that person's actually okay. Oh, they meet a Hispanic person. They go, ooh, even J.D. Vance, one of his best friends, was I believe a trans or gay trans woman.
It was a trans woman who, after I believe she had top surgery, right? Yeah. JD Vance brought her dinner.
That's correct. So, I mean, Donald Trump, his guy that's in charge of the Lincoln Center, I mean, the Kennedy Center is gay. Scott Besson is gay, so it's like they don't really, they say they hate gay people, but they don't. They just need their base to hate gay people. They need their base to be paranoid about trans people. They themselves don't care. And so, unfortunately, I think what you've seen is that trans is the latest way of getting at their base and making them so angry that they run out and vote Republican against their economic interests. Because what you have to do to keep the majority of white people voting for you is to say your interests are not really economic. We'll call them economic if you want, but they're really racial. You really hate Black people. Black people are your problem. They're really about non-white immigrants. That's really what's wrong with your life. That's what's making your life hell. Not billionaires, not us. It's those immigrants who are on documents, the illegals. Stay focused on them. Stay focused on that random trans kid somewhere playing soccer that you'll never meet. They keep them so focused, and unfortunately, it works. Because all you have to do is just repeat it over and over and over on Fox, which is what they all watch. And you just keep them mind melded with hate and anger and rage. It's another reason to get back to our previous point that we were making, that you brought up. That's why they always are so angry, because the content of that they're taking in is rage content, and they got to keep them enraged. College educated folks are turning the other way because now they're learning more. They're learning history. They're finding out stuff about the indigenous and what we did to them. They're finding out stuff about Israel. They're getting educated, and then they're uncontrollable. And to get to the women, there's nothing I think the right hates more than women, to be honest.
Oh my God.
White women, right? Because they're out of the kingdom. They got away from them after World War II. They used to be obedient, home, cooking, with 2 maids that are raising the kids for them, with a black lady that's doing all the housework. It was fine. But now they want to get jobs. They want to have money. They want their own money. What the hell? And they want to tell you what to do and be your CEO. What the fuck? They can't deal with this. So I think that their rage against women might even top their hatred of black people and immigrants.
That's a tough, Joy. That is a tough bar. Okay, let's not get out of control. I've heard these Republicans. I know where their hearts are.
You're right. It's probably the black. It's mainly the black.
Maybe one day we can hope. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, it'll be the white women, but they really hate white women too. I mean, they really do.
It's so it is so obvious the way that they use them as political props, and it's crazy because they voted for Trump. Yeah. It's it's another they will never embrace you, they will never love you, and they make it obvious every single day. But it's a death cult. It's truly what it is at the end of the day. Is that it's a death cult that serves about 18 people, and that's it. Well. It really serves 18 people and keeps a handful of really insecure guys content enough with their shitty lives that are being ruined by billionaires. But what a hopeful note.
Can you imagine being Nicola Fuentes, the little Mexican kid, who's actually a decent broadcaster, if he was sane. But he genuinely thinks, number one, white people are genetically superior, but number two, they can be toppled and felled and destroyed by 60,000 Somalis in Minneapolis.
They're so intellectually insecure. There is no basis to any of the arguments that they make. I've said this for a long time. There needs to be a Pulitzer Prize for follow-up questions where you just go, just say a little bit more. Just explain to me. Because Trump is allowed to do this all the time. He's just allowed to say something wild, and then they just stand there and they go, okay, let's ask about the ballroom now. It's no. Push back a little bit, and they just fall apart. It's just under any intellectual scrutiny, everything falls apart.
100%. I think you should interview Trump just for the sake of, I know his envy of your hair would send him.
Yeah, that'd be good. Well, do you think I was talking about this earlier on the show with Tim Miller. Are you team wig? Do you think it's a weave? Do you think it's a dead animal? What's going on there? Did he get on the minoxidil? What's happening?
It's not a dead animal because he hates dogs, right? He hates animals. So it's definitely not an animal. He wouldn't let it near him. I think it's a wig. I think he's wearing a wig. And I texted Mary Trump about this, and I'm like, you're related to him. You got to tell me if that's a wig, baby. And she believes, and she's done I can say this openly because she's done a live with Dean Obadala about the whole obsession, Donald Trump's obsession with his hair. Mm-hmm. And if you look at his parents, Donald Trump isn't really mimicking his father's hair. No. It's more his mom's hair.
Yes, with the whip around and the scalp. Because what did? They took the back and brought it to the front. I don't know 80s scalp medicine. I don't know if he went to Turkey. Get Trump to Turkey. Maybe this is why he loves Orban.
I think that's why he's friends with Modi, because he wants that good Indian hair. He wants to bring it over and weave it in me. He says, put it on me, whip it, butter whip it, make it.
He's like, you can stay for one reason, the hair.
Just the hair.
Oh, Jesus. Well, Joy, it's always a pleasure hating the worst people in the world with you. At least we can you said we need to bring a little bit of joy. Hopefully this was it. I always appreciate your time. We've got a lot to look forward to in these upcoming midterms, though. But I really hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much. Happy midterms, everyone.
Happy midterms. Always so great talking with our friend Joy Reid. And I'm sure that Jesse Waters is going to be little upset with some of the conversations that we had on the show, and good. It's always nice to piss off a Fox host. But for those of y'all who are always tuning into On Sunday, and it is a lot of y'all, so thank you. It is time before we go for our favorite segment, and that is Idiot of the Week. And this week's idiot is someone that Joy and I just got finished talking about, and that is Amir Hassan. You heard us talking about it with Joy, but this is someone, if you do not know, who was the Trump-endorsed Republican in Michigan's 8th District. Of course, you may have heard about him with me and Joy, or maybe before that, but this is a guy who lost a congressional primary to a dude who wasn't even running. Literally the other guy, he had already quit. His name was Thomas J. Smith, which is an incredibly white and Republican-sounding name.
This dude suspended his campaign on July 16th, and endorsed a different candidate. He had to hand in his FEC report by mail because he didn't know how to use the website. And guess how much money he raised? $1,850. That is the type of disaster campaign that we are talking about. But that guy, Thomas Smith, he beat Amir Hassan by 17 points and is now the Republican nominee for a seat that the GOP is hoping to flip. Meanwhile, Amir Hassan, at least for MAGA, did everything right. He's a Flint native, a Navy veteran stationed at Guantanamo Bay, a federal law enforcement officer, a guy who claims to be an America First Republican, who ran hard on migrant crime. He even converted from Islam to Christianity and put it right there on his campaign website that Jesus is his Lord and Savior. He raised $700,000 and got Mike Johnson, Tim Scott, and of course, Donald Trump to endorse him. Trump wrote on Truth Social that he had his complete and total endorsement. Trump typed in all caps, "He will never let you down," and flew to Michigan a week before that primary to stand on stage with Hassan at a General Motors plant. But of course, none of it worked. Republicans looked at Amir Hassan's name on the ballot, panicked, and voted for a guy who isn't running. He's not. And then they said it out loud. Laura Loomer posted, "Amir Hassan claims he's not a Muslim, but it doesn't matter. His name sounds like he's fresh off the boat, and MAGA voters reject the Islamic infiltration of our country and party." Laura Loomer wrote that about a guy who is running for the Republican nomination. A former Republican in the district named Jerry Green told Detroit News they saw this black guy with that name, and there's just no way. That is what a Republican said about another Republican. And under Trump's own endorsement post, his own people were replying, "No political gain is worth insulting our Christian faith. No Muslims in America," they wrote. "No Muslims in office." Again, this guy saw this and decided, sure, I'll embrace the Republican Party. Now, there may be those out there who feel sorry for Amir Hassan being the victim of a deeply racist political party, but the fact is, he wasn't tricked. He knew what he was signing up for. He was playing into the grift. He knew he was trying to win the vote of people who hate him and don't want anything to do with him. This is the deal every single MAGA person they ultimately make, because you can serve, you can convert, you can bolt yourself to Trump like a loyal cult follower and say all the right things. And the base will look you up and down, and if your name doesn't sound right, they decide you're not one of them. Amir Hassan, you gave yourself up to a party of white supremacy, and it spit you out, because it always will. You are either a pawn in their game or a punchline. That is it. And for that, you are the idiot of the week. It is just truly sad how far these people will go, but it truly shows the weakness of MAGA. And we are going to continue to call it all out. And it is because of y'all that we get to. Thank you, as always, for giving me this incredible platform. And thank you to the brothers at MeidasTouch, Brett, Ben, and Jordy. Another incredible week with our great guest, who I want to say a little shout out to as well, Tim, Joy, and Congressman Robert Garcia. Every single week, we are crushing it and growing this show more. That is because of you. And always, we are going to be having the show again, of course, next week, this same time, this same place, on Meidas, on my show. This is on Sunday. And as always, we're going to do it on Sunday. And I expect to see you back same time. I'll see you soon.